Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and hello, and welcome to Books from My Library. My name is Kimolisa Mings. I am a reader, writer. I love to read and I love to write. Now, as a self-published author, I have to ask the question, how are readers going to find my books? And so I got to thinking about the books that are in my library and how I discovered them and how I got into them. And this week's 3 books start out with Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist. Now, I had first heard about this through Will Smith, and this was before he actually even became an entity on social media, and I believe it was one of those compilation videos on motivation and the like. And I think it was like when he was giving a speech for maybe some award show, and he had mentioned it, so that was locked in the back of my head. And then as I had gotten into like a little bit of Buddhism, a little bit of law of attraction, I kept hearing about this book. So I had gotten this book from, I believe it was the Best of Books. But now, while preparing for this video, I paid attention to the tag on the back of it. I don't know if you can see it. It says made in Antigua, and it was in the British American Mall. Wow. I don't know, it just feels like it's part of my history, because I'm not sure if others know about it, but there was a Made in Antigua store, and it was created by Best of Books, and ooh, chills, because it's part of my personal history, because I grew up retail, so most of my life was spent in St. John's, and these were like part of, like other people, they have their village life. Part of my life was lived in St. John's, in the capital city, and there to say that there's this store made in Antigua and it was here and then it wasn't here, and yet I still have proof that it was here. And even the British American Mall, which was formerly the Benji's Mall and now is the Twist Mall. So it's history. It's my history. Yeah. And I find that so fascinating. But back to the book. I like this book. It's an easy read, and the message is good, the story is good, and I know I've read this at least 3 times, and I think I'm going to be reading it over and over and over, because the interesting thing is that sometimes you forget parts and you read it again and it's like coming home, because there's just some familiar parts and it's like, oh yeah, that's part of the story. So we have Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist, which was, I first found out through Will Smith. Yeah. Now the next book is Michael Crichton's Pirate Latitudes. Actually, this is my mom's book, but it's in my library. And she got this from Best of Books, and the thing is, she's had this for a while, and I think I may have picked it up and with intentions of reading it, and I think maybe years had passed before I did it, and when I did, I kept reading. I was just flipping page after page after page, and although how I say it, although it's not my history in terms of pirates and what they like to call them, privateers, I found it kind of cool because it's in a region that is supposed to be considered home to me, but it's a different take on it. It's different. The landscape is the same in terms of islands with lagoons, but none of the characters I can relate to because they're either British pirates or cannibalistic indigenous people and a leviathan. Interesting. But this is my first Michael Crichton book, and it's not my last. I feel like this was my gateway drug for Michael Crichton, and every time I saw a Michael Crichton book at the library, I would pick it. I picked them up and I read them, and I understand why he's so successful as an author, because his world building and the way he can have like characters from different places and sometimes different places in the world, and somehow he kind of just like brings them together and they kind of glance off of each other before they go into their different worlds. So that was interesting. He even had a character, in another book, he even had a character that was a bird. It was a parrot. So that was kind of cool. So I think part of the reason why I still would have this book is because it's my gateway drug. It's what got me into his books. And I think there's just only one book I haven't read. It's based on like a medical drama, but I haven't really gotten back into medical drama. So I think it's because I had come across one where they did an autopsy, and strangely enough I remember this autopsy. Damn my imagination. But yeah. So our second book is Michael Crichton, Stolen from My Mother. And the last book for this week is Ask and It Is Given. Now, as I mentioned with the first book, The Alchemist, I had gotten into the whole law of attraction thing, I would say the mid-2000s. And then, let's see how I can make this right. So the mid-2000s, and then into the early 2010s, I started listening to podcasts, and then I came across, I think around that time also, I heard of The Secret, and I think I've watched it, I pirated it, and Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks was in it, and that's, I think, is like the first inkling of her. And then I had come across, I think it was a set of podcasts, not the Super Souls podcast by Oprah, but I think she had like a series of podcasts similar to Super Soul, but I think it was her XM radio episodes, and I had listened to a bunch of them, and in those she had people like Eckhart Tolle and Esther Hicks / Abraham Hicks, and it was through that, and I think in that series she would have like had multiple episodes, like, so it would be maybe half-hour episodes and like a handful of them. So I had come across that and was like, oh, okay. And then as time went on, I learned about the book, and it was a while before I got the book. But even though I had gotten the book, I hadn't read the book, because the first time I read the book I was just like, I'm not sure, I'm not understanding. I am just not understanding. So I had put the book down. But then, as I may have said multiple times, sometimes you're just not ready for the book at a time, and then sometimes you're ready for it, and that first time I just couldn't make sense of it, but then the second time I read it, it just made sense, and I took away a few things from it. And like another book, one of the first books I featured. This one, I've got bookmarks in it, and I don't normally bookmark things, but yeah, I don't even know what I bookmark. Okay, yeah. So, how did I find these 3 books that are on my library? The first one, Will Smith, and later on it was just different people mentioning it. The second book I stole from my mother, and it's my gateway drug to this author. And the third book, I could say it's Oprah, but thankfully it's not Oprah Book Club, because I learned. But and then later on, going down the rabbit hole of Law of Attraction, sorry. So thank you for making it to the end, and a little, I don't even know when it's going to be aired, but I think, anyway, thank you for watching this far, and I hope to see you next week. Bye.